out of my bathrobe and in my car.
Good for you, man.
But it's about Mike Tomlin and your relationship dating back to William and Mary. And did he always carry himself with this almost intimidating, intense presence about? Did he have that intimidating and intense presence about him back then?
I don't know if it was ever intimidating. That's not how I would classify it. I think he's got a real good personality and a good way with words.
Yeah, maybe that was the wrong word, but it just I'm sometimes afraid to ask him a question in fear, just the way he carries himself. But it's especially after a loss, he was extremely blunt about the deficiencies of his team this past week, and especially on our conference call with the Pittsburgh media. There's just something about him that in which he gets his message across. Is that what he was like back in college?
Yeah, I mean that's probably why he's been in the position he's been in for so long and done it at such a high level here, and he did the same in college. That's why he was a captain and one of the leaders of our team when I was a young player there.
How much did he influence you back then, or did you two get hang out with each other at all?
Yeah, I mean we interacted. It's obviously the same dynamic of a senior and a freshman. For the most part, so there's a gap there, but. Yeah, we had mutual friends, and then we have grown since then in our relationship. And when you're a captain of the team, you influence and lead a lot of people. So he definitely had a lot of influence over our program.
And can you just provide one example, if you can, just how he influenced your program and maybe yourself as a young freshman there?
Yeah, I just think really when it's being able to influence people on the field is one thing, but then doing things right off the field. He was an example of leadership off the field as well, with the way he carried himself. To your point, and what he meant to the school and the school community, and some activities outside of the normal academic curriculum type activities. So I think all of that speaks volumes about who Mike was then and who he is now.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, it's it's John Scott. How have you seen Harrison Phillips handle his role this season, as he's clearly been still working his way back from that injury?
Yeah, he's been extremely methodical in his approach, which is how Harry is, and very growth mindset oriented as well, which is how you have to be, and I really appreciate that about him. And then intentional about improving all the while, which is I think a great example to our locker room daily.
Is his progression something of what you expected coming off an injury as severe as his was, maybe not being the guy that you expected or maybe even needed early in the season?
Yeah, well, we always want Harry. I mean, he's such a good person, a good player, and a leader in our locker room. The way he's played, I think, is to be expected from the standpoint of, the second half of the year being better than the first. And I'm not a doctor, but that's naturally, I think, what you see when you see a situation like this. Yeah.
And obviously honored as the team's Walter Payton Man of the Year. How does his working in the community affect and permeate with the rest of the team, and just his caring and giving nature?
Yeah, very unselfish and in his approach, and really loves people, loves God, loves people, and I think that's the to make life simple. That's the great command. So I really appreciate that about him. I know his teammates do as well, and I think there's times where they make light of his habits, but at the end of the day, I think when you poll people of some of the most respected players in our locker room, I bet you'd find Harry at the top of the list.
Thanks a lot, Sean.
Hi, Sean. Adam Benini. How are you?
Good, Adam. How are you?
Good, thank you. We had touched on this a little bit last year in the run-up to the Sunday night matchup down at Heinz, but in terms of what you're trying to build and to an extent have succeeded in building in Buffalo to this point, How much is the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and the way they do things kind of an example for you?
Well, I mean, there's a long history of winning. There's a long history of having success. I think continuity with ownership. It appears, again, I'm outside looking in. Continuity with their coaches, continuity with their GMs and their personnel people. I think, again, it's built by people with people. So, I would say that that's probably the biggest thing when you just look kind of at the big areas, those three areas.
And what about this particular team as you prepare for them now? Obviously, Ben wasn't a quarterback last year for that matchup down in Pittsburgh. You see them come in at 11-1. What maybe sets this edition apart as you prepare for them?
Well, outside of last week, they were undefeated going through 11 games. That's hard to do in this league. And it's an area I've been through before, and got a lot of respect for their football team, a lot of respect for their leadership. I mean, they're good and a talented roster in all three phases. They got a good kicking game. They've got good defense. And they play well on offense. I mean, they've got weapons all over the board in all three phases. So it'll be a big challenge for us.
One quick follow-up. I know you're week to week, game by game. I understand all of that. Any added magnitude given where you're at in the season and the stage you're on for this one?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Sean. Good morning. It's Sal.
Good morning, Sal.
Just want to ask you about injury report. I know you had a walkthrough yesterday, but Quentin Jefferson, Jaquan, they were both DMPs, and Andre. Any concern there? Will those three practice today?
So Jaquan will not practice. Quentin Jefferson and Andre will be limited.
Okay. And how did you feel Matt came out of the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I thought he came out fairly well. Are you referring to health? Is that what you're talking about here?
Yes. I'm sorry, Matt Milano. Just how in his, I know he played 19 snaps, I believe. How do you think he came out now that we're a couple days later?
Yeah, I thought Sal, he came out fairly well. Didn't seem to be too sore afterwards. Had to use all of his extremities and function, and I thought he did a good job.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Sean. When you look at the Steelers secondary and the pieces they have, the way they can move around, what kind of challenge does that present for an offense? Yeah,
as I said before, Matt, they're a talented defense. It really starts up front for their defense with Watt and Hayward, and they've been at it a long time. And then what they've got working behind them with Minka and with the other personnel with Joe Hayden and everything. So they're a top defense in the league, and they play hard, they play physical, they pressure the quarterback. So again, and they take the ball away. Probably is more than anything. I think more than most teams in the NFL, maybe second or first in the NFL currently. So that's hard to do, to play well in all those areas, and they're doing that.
What's your experience been like with Ben Roethlisberger, just watching him over the years and, maybe going against him and stuff?
Yeah, a ton of respect. Haven't really gone up against him, coached against him all that much. But when you've been in the league as long as he has, played at the level he has, there's weeks where he's hurt, he plays, he gets hurt early in the game, he comes back to win the game himself. I've watched that on television a number of times. I think I've seen that play out over and over and over again. That's why he'll be a Hall of Famer. So.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Coach. Dan Fates in Rochester. The defense has been playing much better of late. You and Leslie have always talked about peaking at the right time. You talk about gap integrity. You talk about fundamentals. Is it that simple, or is there something more to it, what's taken place over the last 6 games?
I just think overall the players, having a better understanding for their roles in the defense, and then what we need to do to play at a higher level, and then taking a great amount of ownership, and trying to get it done, and they've done that to this point.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
All right, we're going to switch over to Pittsburgh media with Jenna here.
Hey, Coach. Jenna Harner from Pittsburgh. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what is it that the Steelers are doing so well this season that kind of poses the biggest challenge for you guys headed into Sunday night?
Yeah, they're really good in all areas. As I said earlier, offensively, they've got weapons. Ben is Ben, and he plays at such a high level every week, whether he's healthy or hurt. A lot of respect for that. Their offensive line is really good and potentially getting Pouncey back now. So they spread the ball around to those weapons. Then they've got, Connor coming back with the running game as well as Snell. So they've got weapons across the board, offensively, defensively. When you look at, good defensive line play drives the defense, and Hayward and Watt play at such a high level and complement one another among the other pieces that they have there. And then their back seven they work well together. They've been together for quite some time. So they got a strong kicking game as well. So I know Danny Smith does a great job for special teams also.
And we hear Mike Tomlin kind of talk about all the time, these 5-star matchups, things along those lines. What makes a game like this, with the way that both of you guys are playing this season, that type of matchup, that style of matchup?
Well, I just think for us, it's the next game. We always carry a healthy respect for our opponent each week. I'm not there with Mike, so I don't know exactly everything he's referring to there, but he always has a way of putting a buzz onto the verbiage he uses. I've always had a lot of respect for him in that way.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys.